Let me tell you about the most ruthless real estate investor you've never heard of. His name was Marcus Licinius Crassus, and he didn't just buy low and sell high. He created the low himself, with fire. Rome, 1st century BC. No fire department, no insurance, no 911 to call when flames started eating through your wooden apartment building. You know what there was? Crassus, standing outside your burning home with 500 men, buckets of water, and a contract in his hand. But here's the thing that makes your blood boil. Those men didn't move. They stood there, watching, waiting. While your life savings turned to ash, while your family's possessions fed the flames, Crassus would approach you, not to help, to negotiate. Picture this. You're standing in the street, smoke burning your lungs, your neighbors screaming, the heat so intense you can feel your eyebrows singeing. And this man, this obscenely wealthy man in his expensive toga, walks up to you with the calmest expression you've ever seen. He doesn't ask if you're okay. He doesn't offer water. He makes you an offer. Sell me your property right now, for whatever pittance I decide it's worth in its current burning state. Sign this contract, and my men will save what's left. Refuse, and we'll stand here and watch it burn to the foundation. You heard that right. This wasn't a rescue service. This was a protection racket with a legal facade. The original hostile takeover, except the hostility was literal flames consuming everything you owned. And here's what makes it even more twisted. Crassus didn't start these fires. He didn't have to. Rome was a tinderbox. Narrow streets, wooden buildings stacked 5-6 stories high, cooking fires, oil lamps, no building codes, no safety regulations. Fires broke out constantly, multiple times a week. Crassus didn't create the problem. He just positioned himself as the only solution, and then held that solution hostage until you surrendered your property rights. Think about the psychological warfare of that moment. You're not thinking clearly. You're in shock. Your hands are shaking. Maybe your kids are crying behind you. Maybe your spouse is pulling at your arm, begging you to accept any deal that stops the destruction. And Crassus knows this. He's counting on it. He's weaponizing your panic, your desperation, your very human instinct to stop the pain right now, at any cost. The price he offered? Insultingly low. A fraction of what the property was worth. But what choice did you have? Watch everything burn? Watch the fire spread to your neighbors' homes, knowing you could have stopped it? Live with that guilt? Or sign away your asset, your inheritance, your future, for pennies on the dollar? Most people signed. What else could they do? And Crassus? He'd signal his men. They'd finally move. They'd put out the fire, save the structure. And just like that, Crassus owned another building in Rome. Prime real estate, acquired for almost nothing, because he had the leverage of immediacy, the leverage of desperation. Now let me paint you a more detailed picture of how this operation actually worked on the ground. Crassus maintained a private fire brigade of over 500 trained slaves, not freed men. Slaves. Men who had no choice but to follow orders, who couldn't refuse assignments, who couldn't unionize or demand better conditions. This gave him complete control over the operation. No one could quit. No one could leak information. No one could refuse to stand idle while a family begged for help. These men were trained. They knew how to fight fires. They had the equipment: buckets, hooks, pumps, ladders, wet blankets. They were skilled, disciplined, organized. In other words, they were capable of saving almost any structure if they acted quickly enough. But speed wasn't the priority. Acquisition was. Crassus had a network of informants throughout Rome. The moment a fire broke out, word reached him. His brigade would mobilize immediately, but not to save the building, to secure it. to get there before anyone else could organize a response, to establish a perimeter, to make it clear that this fire, this property, this negotiation belonged to Crassus, and Crassus alone. Imagine you're a Roman merchant. You own a 3-story building near the Forum. Ground floor is your shop. Second floor is your workshop. Third floor is where your family lives. You've spent 20 years building this business. Your father owned this property before you. Your children will inherit it after you. This isn't just real estate. This is your identity, your legacy, your entire existence. One evening, a cooking fire gets out of control. Maybe a gust of wind knocked over an oil lamp. Maybe a child playing near the hearth made a mistake. It doesn't matter how it started. What matters is that within minutes, flames are climbing the wooden walls. You rush your family outside. You try to fight it yourself with buckets from the well. But the fire is spreading faster than you can work. Your neighbors are helping, but it's not enough. The heat is overwhelming. The smoke is choking. You realize you're losing. And then they arrive. Crassus's men. 500 of them. They form a line in front of your building. They have everything you need. Water, equipment, expertise. Hope floods through you. Salvation has arrived. You rush toward them, ready to show them where the fire is worst, ready to help coordinate the effort. But they don't move. The foreman stops you. "We need to speak with the property owner," he says. "Where is Marcus Licinius Crassus?" you ask, confused. "He's on his way," the foreman responds. "We'll wait for him." Wait? Your building is burning. Every second counts. "Please," you beg. "Start now. I'll pay whatever you ask. Just start." But the foreman shakes his head. "We wait for Crassus. Those are our orders." Minutes pass. They feel like hours. The second floor is fully engulfed now. You can hear your workshop collapsing. Years of tools and materials feeding the inferno. Your wife is crying. Your children are asking questions you can't answer. Your neighbors are watching, horrified, but also calculating. If your building burns completely, the fire could spread to theirs. They need Crassus's men to act, but the men don't act. They stand. They wait. Finally, a litter arrives. Expensive, carried by 6 slaves. Out steps Crassus. He's not hurried. He's not concerned. He surveys the scene with the detached interest of a man evaluating a business opportunity, which is exactly what he's doing. He approaches you. You smell the expensive oils in his hair, the fine wool of his toga. The contrast between his composed luxury and your ash-covered desperation couldn't be more stark. "A terrible situation," he says, his voice almost sympathetic. Almost. "These old buildings, they go up so fast. I'm sorry for your loss." Your loss? The building is still standing. There's still time. "Please," you say. "Your men can save it." "I'll pay. Name your price." Crassus tilts his head, considering. "The problem, friend, is that fire damage is unpredictable. Even if we save the structure, who knows what internal damage exists? The beams might be compromised, the foundation cracked from the heat. Honestly, the building might be a total loss already. Certainly, its value has plummeted." You want to scream. His men haven't even tried yet. How can he know what's salvageable? "But," Crassus continues, "I'm a businessman. I see opportunity where others see disaster. I'll make you an offer. Sell me the property right now. I'll give you 10,000 sesterces. That's generous considering the circumstances. 10,000? The property is worth at least 100,000. Maybe 200,000. This isn't generous. This is theft." "That's insane," you say. "This property is worth 20 times that." Crassus shrugs. "Was worth. Past tense. Look at it now. In 5 more minutes, it'll be worth nothing. In 10 minutes, it'll be spreading to your neighbor's property, and you'll be liable for that damage too. But if you sell to me right now, you walk away with 10,000 sesterces, clean slate, no debt, no liability. You can start over. Your mind is racing. He's right about one thing. The fire is spreading. You can see flames reaching toward the adjacent building. If it spreads, if people die, if property is destroyed beyond your own, you could be ruined. Not just broke, criminally liable. You could lose everything and end up in debt for the rest of your life. 20,000, you counter, desperate. Please, this is my life. Crassus shakes his head. 10,000. That's my offer. It expires in 1 minute. After that, I withdraw my men entirely, and you negotiate with the ashes. Your wife grabs your arm. Take it, she whispers. Take it. We'll survive. We'll rebuild. Your neighbor is shouting now, terrified the fire will reach his property. Accept the deal, he screams. Save us, all. The pressure is unbearable. You look at Crassus. His expression hasn't changed. He's not sweating. He's not stressed. He's simply waiting for you to make the rational choice. The only choice. You nod. Documents appear instantly. Pre-written. They just need your name filled in. You sign. Your hand is shaking so badly you can barely write. The moment the ink dries, Crassus signals. His men surge forward. They're efficient, professional. Within minutes, the fire is contained. Within an hour, it's extinguished. The building stands. Damaged, yes, but salvageable. Absolutely salvageable. Crassus doesn't stay. He's already moving to the next opportunity. But before he leaves, he turns to you one last time. You made the right choice, he says. Smart man. Not everyone is so rational in a crisis. And then he's gone, and you're standing in the street, clutching a purse with 10,000 sesterces, watching slaves board up the building that used to be yours. The building that's now his. The building that will be repaired, renovated, and rented out for far more than you could ever afford. This scenario played out hundreds of times, maybe thousands. Crassus refined the system. He got faster at responding to fires, better at assessing structural damage on site, more skilled at reading people, at knowing exactly how much pressure to apply before they broke. He understood something fundamental about human psychology. Fear overrides rational calculation. When you're terrified, when your world is literally burning, you'll accept almost any deal that makes the terror stop. And here's what makes it even more calculated. Crassus kept detailed records. He knew the value of every property in Rome. He had maps showing building density, fire risk, property ownership. He was running data analytics 2,000 years before computers existed. He could walk up to a burning building and know within seconds what it was worth undamaged, what it would cost to repair, what rental income it could generate. He wasn't guessing. He was executing a proven formula. The properties he acquired weren't just scattered randomly across Rome. He focused on high-traffic commercial districts, properties near the Forum, near the markets, near the public baths. Prime real estate that would generate maximum rental income. He wasn't building a random portfolio. He was constructing a real estate empire with strategic precision. After acquiring a property, Crassus wouldn't just do minimal repairs. He'd renovate. He'd upgrade. He'd turn a burned-out shell into desirable rental space. He hired architects, engineers, craftsmen. He invested capital into improving the properties because he knew he'd locked them in at a fraction of their true value. He could afford to spend money making them better because his acquisition cost was essentially zero. And then came the rental income. Steady, reliable, massive. Crassus charged market rates. He wasn't a slumlord, at least not by Roman standards. His properties were well maintained because that maximized their value. He employed property managers to handle day-to-day operations. He created an entire bureaucracy to manage his holdings. This wasn't a side hustle. This was an industrial-scale operation. The wealth accumulated exponentially. Each property generated income that funded the acquisition of more properties. The brigade got larger. The operations got faster. The network got more efficient. Success bred more success. And the more successful Crassus became, the more untouchable he was. He had money. He had property. He had political connections. He had power. Now here's where it gets even more calculated. Crassus didn't just flip these properties. He held them. He understood long-term value. He knew that Rome was growing, that property values would increase, that rental income would compound over time. He wasn't thinking quarter to quarter. He was thinking generationally. He was building dynastic wealth. His net worth in today's money? Estimates range from $200 billion to $2 trillion. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. Ancient sources describe him as the richest private citizen in Rome, possibly the richest private citizen in the world at that time. His wealth was legendary, and every single coin in that fortune was acquired the same way, buying assets from desperate people at the worst moment of their lives. Let's be absolutely clear about what that fortune represents. It's not genius. It's not innovation. It's not creating value where none existed before. It's extraction. It's taking advantage of asymmetric power dynamics. It's exploiting legal loopholes that allowed contracts signed under duress to be binding. It's weaponizing human suffering for profit. The Romans knew what he was doing. It wasn't a secret. Cicero wrote about it. Other historians documented it. But here's the thing about ancient Rome. Property rights were sacred. Contracts were binding. If you signed, you signed. There was no cooling off period, no consumer protection laws, no court that would invalidate a contract because it was signed while your house was burning. The law was the law, and Crassus operated entirely within it. In fact, he was celebrated. He was a senator, a consul, a military commander. He crushed Spartacus's slave rebellion, killing 6,000 captured slaves by crucifying them along the Appian Way. He formed the first triumvirate with Julius Caesar and Pompey, becoming part of the most powerful political alliance in Rome. His business model of trauma-based acquisition didn't disqualify him from leadership. It proved he had what it took to succeed in Rome's brutal world. Think about what that says about Roman values. Crassus wasn't seen as a villain. He was seen as successful, smart, ruthless, yes, but ruthlessness was admirable if it produced results. The fact that his wealth came from others' misfortune didn't matter. What mattered was that he had wealth, power, influence. He had won the game. And before you think this is just ancient history, just a barbaric practice from a less enlightened time, ask yourself, how different is it today? How many modern fortunes were built on similar principles? Buying foreclosed homes after the 2008 crash at auction prices. Acquiring distressed assets during the pandemic when businesses were desperate for cash. Swooping in when people are at their weakest and offering them just enough to make the pain stop, but not enough to be fair. The language changed. We call it distressed asset acquisition now. Opportunistic investing, contrarian strategies. But the fundamental dynamic is identical. Someone is in crisis. Someone else has resources. The person with resources extracts maximum value from the person in crisis. We've just gotten better at making it sound respectable. Disaster capitalism, that's what economists call it. The practice of profiting from catastrophe. And Crassus was the original disaster capitalist. He didn't invent greed, but he industrialized it. He turned human tragedy into a reproducible business model. He proved that you could build extraordinary wealth, not by creating value, but by being strategically positioned when value was being destroyed, and then extracting it at the lowest possible price. His legacy isn't just historical, it's operational. Every time a hurricane hits, and investors buy damaged properties at steep discounts, that's Crassus. Every time a financial crisis creates buying opportunities for those with cash reserves, that's Crassus. Every time someone's desperation becomes someone else's opportunity, that's Crassus. The tactics evolved, the technology changed, but the strategy? It's the same playbook, executed over and over across 20 centuries. Marcus Licinius Crassus died in 53 BC. He was killed in battle in Parthia during a disastrous military campaign, motivated partly by his desire to match the military glory of his fellow triumvirs, Caesar and Pompey. Legend says the Parthians poured molten gold down his throat after his death, a symbolic punishment for his legendary greed. Poetic justice? Perhaps. But here's the thing. His death didn't end his business model. The properties remained, the system remained, the example remained. Other wealthy Romans saw what he'd accomplished and replicated it. The idea that crisis creates opportunity, that desperation can be monetized, that suffering can be profitable. That idea didn't die with Crassus. It metastasized, it spread, it evolved, it became fundamental to how wealth is accumulated. So the next time you hear about investors buying up distressed properties, about opportunistic acquisitions during market crashes, about someone getting rich from other people's disasters, remember Crassus. Remember that this isn't new. It isn't innovative. It's ancient. It's been happening for 2,000 years. The only thing that changes is how effectively we disguise it, how successfully we rebrand exploitation as entrepreneurship, how thoroughly we convince ourselves that taking advantage of desperate people is just good business. Crassus understood something that still drives modern capitalism. The best time to buy is when the seller has no power to negotiate, when they're desperate, when they're terrified, when they'll accept any deal that stops the immediate pain, regardless of the long-term cost. That's not wisdom. That's not market efficiency. That's predation. It's predation with a contract. Predation with legal standing. But predation nonetheless. And that's the real story of Marcus Licinius Crassus. Not the member of the triumvirate. Not the general who defeated Spartacus. But the man who looked at Rome burning and saw profit. The man who turned human suffering into a reproducible business model. The man who proved that you don't need to create value to accumulate wealth. You just need to be there when value is being destroyed, with resources in hand and a contract ready to sign. The original disaster capitalist, the patron saint of crisis profiteering. The template that's been repeated, refined, and repackaged for 2 millennia. His business model didn't die with him. It just got a better public relations team.